In 570 AD, the most powerful military commander in Arabia marched on Mecca with a war elephant at the front of his army. His name was Abraha. He commanded 30,000 soldiers. He had siege weapons, cavalry, infantry, and the one thing no Arabian army had ever faced before, a war elephant. Not a symbol, not a parade animal, a trained, armored war elephant, bred for battle, capable of crushing infantry formations and breaking siege walls. Mecca had none of these things. Mecca had no standing army, no walls to speak of, no military commander. What Mecca had was a stone building called the Kaaba and the tribal leaders of the Quraysh, who, when they heard Abraha was coming, did not fight. They walked into the hills and waited. And then something destroyed Abraha's army. To understand why any of this happened, you need to understand the world it happened in, and the ambition of one man who believed he could redirect the spiritual center of Arabia by force of will and architecture. Abraha was not Arab. He was Aksumite, from the Christian kingdom of Aksum in what is now Ethiopia, one of the most powerful empires of the ancient world. In the early 6th century, the Aksumites crossed the Red Sea and took control of Yemen, the southwestern corner of the Arabian Peninsula, a region of enormous strategic and commercial value. Yemen sat at the crossroads of Indian Ocean trade routes. Whoever controlled Yemen influenced the flow of luxury goods from India and East Africa into the Mediterranean world. Abraha rose through the ranks of the Aksumite occupation and eventually seized power in Yemen for himself, ruling as a semi-independent governor who maintained nominal loyalty to Aksum while building his own base of power. He was a Christian, an ambitious administrator, and a builder. And he had a problem. The problem was the Kaaba. In the 6th century, the Kaaba in Mecca was already ancient. It was a cube-shaped stone structure that Arab tribes across the peninsula considered sacred. Every year, pilgrims came from across Arabia to Mecca for the annual pilgrimage season, a time of trade, religious observance, and intertribal diplomacy. The Quraysh tribe, who controlled Mecca and the Kaaba, grew wealthy and influential from this traffic. Mecca was not powerful militarily. It was powerful because everyone agreed it was important. Abraha wanted that. He built a cathedral in Sana'a, his capital, that was described by Arab historians as one of the most magnificent buildings in the world. It was called Al-Khalis. It had marble floors, gold ornamentation, colored glass, and a scale that no building in Arabia had previously attempted. He built it specifically to redirect the pilgrimage economy. If Arabs came to Sana'a instead of Mecca, the wealth and influence would flow to him. They did not come. The Quraysh were not idle. According to later Arabic sources, members of the Quraysh actually traveled to Sana'a and deliberately desecrated Al-Khalis, entering the cathedral and defiling it as a statement of contempt. Whether this specific act is historical or legendary, the political rivalry between Mecca and Abraha's Yemen was real. Mecca's pilgrimage traffic did not redirect to Sana'a. Abraha decided the problem required a military solution. He assembled his army in Yemen in 570 AD and began marching north. The force was enormous by the standards of the Arabian Peninsula. Tens of thousands of soldiers, including infantry, cavalry, and supporting units. At the front was the war elephant. His name was Mahmud, and he was the kind of animal that had never been seen in Central Arabia. Elephants had been used in warfare across the ancient world, from India to North Africa, for centuries. The psychological effect of seeing one in person, the size, the sound, the sheer presence, could break formations before a single weapon was raised. As Abraha moved north, smaller tribes attempted to resist and were crushed. The army moved through the Hejaz without significant opposition. Word reached Mecca. Abd al-Muttalib, the chief of the Quraysh and the grandfather of the child who would be born that same year, met with Abraha outside the city. He did not offer military resistance. He asked, according to the sources, for the return of some camels that Abraha's army had seized. Abraha reportedly found this response bewildering. Here was the guardian of the most sacred site in Arabia, asking about camels. Abd al-Muttalib is said to have replied that the Kaaba had its own guardian, and he was responsible only for his camels. The Quraysh left Mecca. They went into the surrounding hills to wait. Abraha ordered the advance on Mecca, and then Mahmud, the war elephant, stopped. According to the sources, Arab chroniclers, later Islamic tradition, and the Quranic account, Mahmud knelt. He refused to move toward Mecca. His handlers urged him, struck him, used every technique known to elephant handlers of the period. He would rise when turned in other directions, toward Yemen, toward Syria, toward anywhere else. But when pointed at Mecca, he would kneel and refuse to move. Whatever caused this, animal instinct, illness, the behavior of a stressed elephant, something that no handler could explain, the advance stalled. And then the army began to die. The Quran describes what happened next in Surah Al-Fil, one of the shortest chapters in the scripture. Did you not see what your Lord did to the companions of the elephant? Did he not make their plan go wrong? And he sent against them birds in flocks, throwing at them stones of baked clay, and he made them like eaten straw. Birds, flocks of birds carrying stones that fell on the army and destroyed it. The Arabic word used, ababil, describes birds coming in waves. The stones, sijil, are described as hardened clay. The image in the Quran is precise and strange, not a storm, not an earthquake, not a human army, but birds. Modern historians have proposed several explanations. The most widely accepted secular theory is disease, specifically smallpox, or possibly another hemorrhagic epidemic. The Arabian Peninsula in the 6th century had seen outbreaks of diseases brought by trade routes from Africa and India. An army camping in the heat outside a city, drinking from unfamiliar water sources, already stressed from a long march, would be catastrophically vulnerable to epidemic disease. The symptoms of smallpox. Pustules that form rapidly across the skin, resembling the wounds of thrown stones, may have given rise to the image in the oral tradition that was later recorded. Some researchers have also suggested that the birds may have been a description of insects, flies, or other vectors carrying disease. Others note that a large army stalling outside a city, waiting for an elephant that refuses to march, could have suffered a collapse of morale and logistics that made it vulnerable to a combination of disease, internal disorder, and harassment from surrounding tribes. What is not disputed is the outcome. Abraha's army did not take Mecca. Abraha himself reportedly made it back to Yemen severely ill and died shortly after. The cathedral he built, Al-Khalis, the most magnificent church in Arabia, outlasted him by only a few generations before being destroyed in the subsequent political upheavals. Mecca was not touched. And that same year, 570 AD, the year of the elephant, a child was born in Mecca to the Quraysh tribe. His father had died before his birth. His name was Muhammad. The Islamic tradition has always understood the year of the elephant as preparation, an act of protection for the city where the final prophet would be born. The Quran's chapter on the elephant appears in the same section as chapters on the birth and early life of a faith that would, within a century of that year, spread from Arabia to the Atlantic and the borders of China. Secular historians understand it differently, as a political near catastrophe that, through luck, disease, or military collapse, failed. A powerful commander with a powerful army came within striking distance of a defenseless city and was stopped by something that destroyed his forces before he could act. Here is what stays with you. The most significant city in the history of one of the world's largest religions was, in 570 AD, entirely without military defense. It survived because the army sent to destroy it was destroyed first. By what exactly? Divine intervention, disease, a combination of both, or something else entirely, is a question that has been debated for 14 centuries. The elephant knelt. The army died. The city survived. And the year that was supposed to mark Mecca's destruction became instead the year that marks the beginning of a story that changed the world.